Hey, friend, I pray you're having an amazing week of prayer. We are in our third week of our series, Pray About Everything, Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 and 7. He tells us not to have anxiety, not to be anxious, put it off, but pray about everything. And he says, when we do, the peace of God will, instead of being overwhelmed by thoughts of worry and concerns or fear, or just inundated with problems and it clouding our mind and distracting us, he says we will be overwhelmed by the peace of God, and the peace of God will protect and rule our hearts. I was thinking about how when we have these moments and these seasons where we're really seeking God in prayer, how the enemy will not let up. And I'm sure you have had a number of things that have surfaced in the last couple of weeks that possibly have tempted you to be in worry, uh, uh, be concerned, be overwhelmed with anxious thoughts, negative thoughts. And we have to, in those moments, we have to dig deep back to the foundation. And I remember the sermon series. In fact, I have a gift over the years. I've had different gifts that have been given to me over the years. And a lot of those gifts have different significance, have meaning. They're significant, built around something, a memory or something. And this one is one of my top favorite gifts this year. I did a sermon series on Matthew chapter 7 about how Jesus says that a wise person will build their house on the rock and a foolish builds on sand. So I had someone give me a shovel for Father's Day. They're saying maybe I need to work more. I don't know. But they said, and I love this. I love this family too. It was engraved, dig deep with Matthew chapter 7, the reference from the sermon that we were preaching on, dig deep. And Luke chapter 6, actually he says, a wise person will dig their foundation deep. And I'm thinking about this whole prayer and Philippians, this whole prayer series, and how it relates to us. How do we dig deep? One of the things we got to do, we're going to dig deep when the enemy is trying to distract us and bring fear in our minds. And I'm sure a number of things have surfaced, like it has for me, for you. Things have surfaced in your life in the last couple of weeks. And maybe it can be discouraging, but I'm encouraging you right now, you're going to have to dig deep. Dig deep with the principles that Jesus has taught about prayer. In Philippians chapter 4, he tells us in verse 6, he says, have no anxiety about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known. Let your request be made known to God. Let your request be made known to God. Our request, a lot of times we make them known in our head. We make them known with anxious thoughts, and we share them with friends. We share them with what's going on in our life, and we share the anxious feelings. But how much time and energy are we making our requests known to God? You're going to have to dig deep. And here's one of the beautiful verses in the same chapter that has really spoke to me. He says in verse 19, and my God will supply every need of yours according to, not your bank account, not my bank account, not what resources I have, not what resources you have. He says, our God, when we do all of this in prayer, when we dig deep and stand in prayer and believe in God and remove the anxious thoughts and replace that energy in the negative, replace it with energy leaning in on God. He says, when we do this, and our God will supply all of our needs according to his riches in glory. God has a lot, his bank account is a lot bigger than mine. His resources are a lot bigger than ours, guys. How can we not be in a place of digging deep and believing that God is going to move for us? So I don't know where you need to stretch your faith, lean your faith in, increase your faith. Jesus complained to, not complain, but he corrected, if you will. He corrected his disciples and says, you have little faith. Can we expand our faith as we close out this week in prayer? And we may actually extend it. I've got another sermon I'm working on for this Sunday, prayer in connection with fighting the struggles of these spiritual struggles that we have. And it'll actually be a great bridge into our next sermon series in September, talking about spiritual warfare. So I pray, stay encouraged. It's Wednesday today, it's midweek. Dig deep with your prayers. Don't let up. Make it a great day.